And this is where a lot of Christians are living. Underneath a treadmill of performance, the hamster wheel of performance, running, cannot figure out why they are exhausting their spirits. And the only thing they've got is a higher resolve. I'm going to do better next time. Until they don't. And then their resolve's a little lower. And then they don't. And then their resolve's a little lower. And then they don't. And then their resolve's, I'm being repetitious for a reason. You know what's coming. And then they don't. And then their resolve's a little lower. And then they don't. And then their resolve is gone. And then they quit. And the church world, the road of the church is littered with the skeletons of people who gave up a long, long time ago and said, you know what, I'm finished. And what I'm seeing all around the world are people who have become so finished that they say, you know what, I love the Lord, but I can't live the standard. I'm just incapable of living up to the standard that's being placed in front of me. So I'm going to continue to love the Lord, but I'm going to have to get off the treadmill. I'm going to have to get off the hamster wheel. I want to show you today the answer to this, and Paul is getting there through this. Watch Paul's answer. Watch Paul's resolve, though. I think it's incredible that the great minister of grace shows you fleshly resolve on his way to victory. Sin took occasion, verse 11. Sin took occasion by the commandment. It deceived me. It killed me. Therefore, the law is holy. The commandment is holy. The commandment is just. The commandment is good. So how then what is good could become death to me? Certainly not. But sin, that it might appear sin, was producing death in me through what is good, so that sin through the commandment might become exceedingly sinful. Sin literally becomes exceedingly sinful the more the command is put on top of me. Paul says it literally got worse the more the command was put on top of me. The more it was drilled into me what not to do and what to do, the worse I got in doing what I wasn't supposed to do and not doing what I was supposed to do, which brings us into a passage that is real tongue-tying for a lot of Christians. Watch 14 on. We know the law is spiritual. I'm carnal, sold under sin. What I'm doing, I don't understand. What I want to do, that I don't practice. What I hate, that's what I do. If then I do what I will not do, I agree with the law that it's good. And you got all of this back and forth, Paul going, I want to do it, can't do it, don't want to do it, end up doing it. When I do this, I feel like I'm sold under sin. So I know Paul doesn't think he's a sinner. But Paul says, I start to think like a man sold under sin. I start to think like a man in bondage. So I heighten my resolve, and then what happens? I fall down. And then I don't want to do that, and I end up doing it. And then I say, I'm going to do that, and then I don't do it. And then I feel like a dog. How many of you had this sort of Christian experience? This was me growing up in the church, where I would fail, and then I would say, God, I'm never going to do that again. Anybody else ever do that? Stupidest prayer I ever prayed in my life, man. Because when I did it again, I felt bad twice. I felt bad for doing it, and I felt bad for lying. Because I told God I wasn't going to do it again. Now God's double mad at me. He's mad that I sinned, and he's mad that I told him I wouldn't sin. So, how do we get out of that? A lot of people just quit. We call them backsliders in the church. We'll say they're not saved anymore. Depending on what your theology is, you'll have 10 different titles for them. They're apostate, they're backslid, they were never really saved. They're saved, but they're confused. They're lost. They're going to heaven, but they're barely going to get there. They're going to hell. It just depends. I saw them all. I went to all of them, preached in all of them. Just depends on the crowd, what's going to happen to that person, you know. But the reality is Paul doesn't even deal with that. He doesn't even mention them losing their salvation. He doesn't mention them going to hell. He doesn't mention them going to heaven. He realizes that what he was going through right there was enough of hell, and that heaven would be being released from that stupidity. Heaven would be getting off of that treadmill. But surely I don't have to wait to die physically to get out of this mess. You know, I didn't get saved for this garbage. I got a letter from a woman about 2 years ago. She said, Pastor, I've been listening to your stuff online. This is, I think, when we were on satellite television. She said, I watched you on TV. She said, your stuff's transforming my life. She said, I never knew how much God loved me, and I never knew how much of a price he had paid for me. She said, I just want to tell you that up until I started to understand this message, that God loved me and that Jesus had paid for me, I had given my heart to Jesus 30 years ago. And I spent the next 30 years, I wouldn't articulate it, she said, but in my heart, I spent 30 years thinking that the biggest mistake I ever made in my life was getting saved. She said, because I went to an altar and I laid down my burdens of sin and I picked up the burden of working for God, a God that I couldn't please. So then I spent the next 3 decades thinking, why did I sign up for this which I cannot live? Until I heard the message, Jesus paid it all, and He truly loves me. You know, someone was asking me last night about gifts, or this week about gifts in the body. And so some people are gifted to be soul winners. I'll admit that's not me. I'm not the guy that goes out on the street corner and preaches to sinners to get saved. I have a lot of respect for people that can do that. Some people are gifted to lay hands on the sick and they recover. They have the gift of healing. And man, I've seen mighty miracles and thought, wow, God is using that man without a doubt. And someone say to me, well, what's your... I know people who are gifted to pastor and counsel and just hold hurt sheep and just hug them and man, just nurse them back to life. And I think, wow, what a gift. People say, what do you think your gift is? If you're going to admit you're not good at going out and winning the soul. Pastoring's not where God has you in your life. And what I say to people is, you know what my gift is? After you win that guy on the corner and after you rock him back to health in the church, 5, 6, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years down the line, my gift is to help set them free from all the baggage that's been put on them since the day they got saved. And I think Paul was coming into that knowledge here in Romans 7, where he says, man, I had this load of performance, and I had a truckload of willpower, and none of my willpower was working. Want to do it, can't do it. Don't want to do it, end up doing it. But now it's no longer I, verse 17, who does it, but sin that dwells in me. Listen, it's not me, the redeemed Paul. It's the issue of the law placing me in a position of performance that causes me to do this. For I know that in me, in the fleshly side of me, this is so crucial, verse 18. In my fleshly side, there's nothing good, because I have the willpower. To will is present. But how to perform what is good, I do not find. Ready for some more tongue twister? The good that I will do, I don't do. The evil I will not do, that's what I practice. Now if I do what I will not to do, it is no longer I that do it, but sin that dwells in me. Paul goes right back into the same thing. He goes, look, it's not a willpower problem. Don't tell me I have a resolve problem, because I'm here to tell you I got all kinds of resolve, but I still don't live up to it. I got all kinds of willpower, and I still end up failing. I don't want to do it. I end up doing it. I want to do it. I don't end up doing it. Watch his frustration. Just look at 24. Oh, wretched man that I am. Who will deliver me from this body of death? This is a guy that's ready to quit. I'm sick of this. Should have took the mountain yesterday. Didn't take the mountain. You know what my resolve is? I'm going to take that mountain. And every time I go, the Amalekites and the Canaanites beat the fire out of me. Who's going to deliver me from this foolish valley? How do I get out of this? I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord. Exclamation point. That's the end of his point. I thank God that my deliverance from this stupidity is Jesus. It is not me getting more willpower. I just spent 10 verses telling you it doesn't work. My solution is Jesus. So then with my mind, I serve the law of God. With the flesh, the law of sin. So in other words, if I could just renew my mind to a crucial piece of knowledge, I'd be okay. But my flesh always rises up and says, I can do it. Every time I find a situation, rather than facing it with knowledge about who Jesus is in me, I face it with resolve about how much I would be pleasing to God if I could pull this off. How much I'd please my church. How proud my pastor would be of me. I've even seen Christians who are haunted by the ghost of their grandfathers and grandmothers. Haunted. I don't mean literally in their house. I mean they cannot even walk according to the Spirit because all they are is chained to the theology of their grandfather. And they say, Grandpa would not have accepted this. I got to live up to what Mama wanted me to be. I got to live up to what Daddy said I could be. And Paul says, in my flesh is no good thing. My mind knows better. My mind is being renewed daily on who I am in Christ and who Christ is in me. And I know better, and then I still go back to that. What would Dad want me to do? How would my pastor, when I was a kid, how would he want me to handle this? And I see so many believers chained to the ghosts of people who did not have their revelation. That's a shame.